Hi, everyone. It's Roland Kym with the Kym Real Estate Team, Top 1% team in Greater Metro Vancouver, licensed with Keller Williams. And today is August 22nd, 2024, and I'm going to have a market update that I want to share with you. Prior to that, of course, if you have any real estate questions, please reach out to me. One of the best opportunities I see available right now in the marketplace is for upsizing. Anyone that's living in real estate that's looking to upsize, that's currently not in their best and final home, this is the perfect market. It's a stable, mature market to upsize because you will win on the price point going up and you will be selling something in a very stable market. So who do you know that is not in their final home? Please have them connect with me, and I'd love to see if I can be of assistance. Until then, let's jump right into it for the Vancouver metro market. All right, so what you see here are all the different real estate boards around the province. Focusing in on the Greater Vancouver area, what you see for July of 2024, last month, there was 2,333 transactions. This represents a 4.3% reduction in the sale price. That represents a 4.3% reduction in the volume of transactions versus July 23. The average price in Vancouver is $1,280,000 with change. That's about stable from same month last year. And of course, there are all the other real estate boards here that we can touch on. What is interesting here, when we look provincially, you get to see that provincially, in the month of July, last month, there was just under 7,000 transactions, which represents, again, a 2% reduction versus July provincially of the prior year. When you look over that long-term graph, you get to see the highs and lows, and you kind of get to figure that we're still below the 10-year average, but you can see obviously the highs and lows and the severe nuances of that. Looking at that over the market conditions that dictate what a balanced market is, we continue to be in a balanced market. I think for a lot of folks who are saying the market is slow, and it's certainly slower numerically, and it's slower on my experience of transactions, but most of the last 20 years have been in sellers markets that you can see here. Very briefly were they in balanced, or very briefly were they in a buyer's market. So all in all, we continue to be in a buyer's market. It's one of the longer buyer trends we've seen of late. But the future probably is leaning towards, certainly this time next year, we'll be back in the seller's market. And the question is, how quickly do those things happen between now and then? When we're looking at active listings for last month, July finished in Greater Vancouver with 14,326 active listings. This represents a 40% increase versus July of 2023, and it's almost double from December of 2023. Currently, at the end of July, we have 6.1 months of inventory. That's how much inventory is available. So in my experience, over the last 15 years, that's a large number, a large amount of inventory for the Greater Vancouver market. When we're looking at provincially on active listings within the province, we see that July finished with about 35% more listings in July 2024 at 42,000 and change versus July 2023. You could probably say that we're probably close to a 10-year average here in active listings provincially. When we're looking at the average price, the sale price in the province, it is around $959,000, which was pretty flat year over year for July versus July 2023. And you can see it's substantially down from the peaks of COVID in 2022. We are now looking at my 2024 market trends. This is a great tracker. So you can see here I have information leaning back from 2019. The transactional volume each month is what this tracks. As I mentioned before, July of last month being July, there was 2,333 transactions. We mentioned that it was about 5% lower versus July of 2023. What's really interesting right now is as of August 21st, there have been 1,204 transactions registered on our real estate board. When I average that out, or when I calculate that, that's about 57 a day. When I multiply that by the number of months or the number of days this month, I'm getting an estimate that should come in, and they've been pretty tight and pretty correct over the years, that we're probably trending for around 1,800 transactions in August 24, which would represent a 33% reduction versus last August. And so with that level of volume by the end of August, we'll probably have 7.5 months of inventory based on my calculations. And so it sounds like we're going into this big buyer's market, but I think it's going to change in the months ahead. I think third quarter and ongoing in 2024 will start to consume inventory, will start to bring buyers to the market and start to get busier. Right now, we're just slow in August. What we're seeing here, recently they came out with the numbers that the inflation rate came down again last month. It's currently at 2.5%. You can see that it is trending lower. We're still off the government's target of around 2%, but we're trending in the right direction, and we certainly have a lot of headwinds as far as the economy nationally, and so that will continue to push down the CPI, which is your inflation price. Housing starts across the province. We're seeing that nowhere are we seeing any indication yet that housing starts are dramatically increasing, even with all the federal and provincial and municipal energy and effort into increasing building starts, increasing inventory. And if you remember the budget that came out earlier this year with an incredibly ridiculous projection saying that by 2031 they'll bring on 4 million new houses, which is obviously ridiculous because we average around 260,000 new builds nationally each year, and that math doesn't compute unless there's a dramatic influx of new housing starts, and there's no indication yet of that in the province, let alone nationally, from anything that I see. Unemployment's an interesting story. We're definitely trending ongoingly into a higher unemployment area. I personally have clients who have businesses that are holding off hiring, holding off replacing some employments or employees because they're trying to figure out their budget. And part of that is that minimum wage is increasing again on October 1st to $17.20 an hour. So that certainly has impacts on several different industries, especially the food and beverage and the service business. The most impressive, this graph is illustrating the long-term population growth. So this graph is showing you over many decades here, kind of roughly how immigration numbers were looking. And obviously jumping into COVID, immigration came to a standstill. Post-COVID, it just jumped past 1 million, and it continues to be there. And so although I feel the government is starting to pull back through landed immigrants, through work visas, student visas, a whole number of things that I'm hearing in the news, we are still high, well into the million plus population growth annually into Canada. And we're not building to offset that. And so that will be one of the large underpinnings of why prices will go up a little bit, but really why sales will go up dramatically in the year ahead. And certainly, this time next year, it's a completely different Vancouver real estate market. I do think that prices will be a bit stable versus previous rebounds, simply because things are very expensive as they are. Interest rates will be going down, but they continue to have limitations on people's borrowing power. But again, the population growth post-COVID is just astronomical, and it is having impacts on our real estate market. Interestingly enough, most of you know Alberta is in a big growth phase right now. It's probably the growth story, I think, of the next decade. And it is, based on this statistic coming out from the World Bank and Statistic Canada, it is the #1 fastest growing place in the world right now, which is incredible. But I certainly feel that firsthand. Currently, I'm working with 3 clients that are moving away from the Vancouver metro market into the Alberta market. And so I'm feeling it firsthand. To that note, I thought it would be interesting to see that the projections for Alberta home sales, how they're continuing to be high and growing, and also the prices, how they're continuing to go higher. I predict that Alberta, the decade ahead, will be where it disconnects its house prices up and down from commodity prices. In the past, the Alberta markets up and down real estate market was closely tied to the price of oil. I think now so many people are moving to Alberta for lifestyle, for cost of living, and so it is starting to have its home pricing connected more to lifestyle and living costs and opportunity versus the price of oil being a boom and bust past. So it's very interesting. It'd certainly be a good place to invest, perhaps, if that's something you're looking for, and something you might want to consider. All right, in closing here as we get to the finish, I like this graph because it illustrates that since 2000, which seems like yesterday, but oh my gosh, it's a quarter of a century already, interest rates were, pretty much close to where we are right now for much of the time. Obviously, prices were substantially lower. Probably there's been two real estate price doubles during that 25-year period, actually three, which is crazy. That being said, we are trending lower with our interest rates. All people I follow, all valuable information is, indicating that over the next 2 years, we're going to have a steady pressure downwards on interest rates. And so what are we expecting? Well, folks that I follow and respect are saying kind of here's the image that we created that shows the downwards trend. We're probably, we're right around here. And we have a ways to go before probably we'll land in the 2.5% to 3% interest rate for the Bank of Canada target overnight rate in the years ahead. That being said, it's supported by one of the banks that I think brings out amazing intel. And what you see here is the forecast update. They got us right now for, coming out in September down to 4.25. And they continue feeling that, hey, we'll have another two interest rate drops and be sub 4% by the end of the year. And, into 25 will be around the 3% mark and maybe even lower. So interest rates certainly are going lower. I think prices will be pretty stable, but they're not going lower. The question is, where do they move in sideways or upwards direction as the interest rates come down? So all in all, in summary, hopefully no one's been affected by tsunami, but I would use that as my analogy right now. So it's kind of visualize a tsunami. The tide is pulling out right now from the ocean, and I'm standing on the beach, and where there used to be a lot more water, there's very little, if any, and that's August. That's the month of August. I think it's quite slow, and the tide is starting to come back in September after the September 4th projected Bank of Canada rate reduction, and it's going to get really busy into October and into the months ahead, and the tide's going to get higher. I believe that, like I said before, sales activity will go higher. I don't project that the prices are going to see double-digit growth over the year ahead. I might be wrong. I think it's going to be a much stable rebound from any pullback that we've seen in the past. Again, because prices are high, people's budget is stretched. There's only so much that people's borrowing capacity can handle, even with interest rates reducing. And so I think it'll be a very stable on price, but steadily busy on transactions in the last quarter of this year and in the year ahead. In summary, the greater Vancouver area, we currently have high inventory. We're projecting a busy fall market. We got stable prices with, single-digit increases probably here into the end of the year. Inflation continues to trend down. Interest rates are coming down, and we have high immigration. All in all, if you need to be buying and you're not selling, right now is the best time to be a buyer. And, 6 months from now, you're going to wish that you bought now in August 2024. If you're a seller, prices will be going up a little bit, and it'll be a little bit easier in the time ahead. And you have to offset that with what your timeline and your strategy is. But please reach out to me if there's anything I haven't covered, or if there's more information you want to discuss. I love having one-on-one consults, and I'm always available for real estate in the greater Metro Vancouver. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.